included offence is 5 years or more, but less than 10 years. 14 years if the maximum term of imprisonment is the included offence is 10 years or more, but less than 14 years, and life if the maximum term of imprisonment for the included offence is 14 years or more and up to imprisonment for life.
Wow. There's a clown minister named Sean Fraser, who's been a clown minister in every portfolio he's ever occupied, delivering a clown address for a clown government about a hate crimes bill that we don't need or want, and it's preposterous. When we come back, more of the clownish Mark Carney government that had a fake news conference for a fake housing project. I don't know where to begin and end here. It's incredible. We'll be back. It's Sunday. Hope you're having a great Sunday. We just got back from church. I'm David Krayden, broadcasting to you live from the Ottawa area. I'll be back in mere moments with more of this.
The Prime Minister lied and his minions continue to lie.
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need to resolve to resist.
Yes, please like, subscribe to the station right now. Give it the thumbs up, because you help us beat the algorithm. I have to say that every day, because at times I don't believe it either. But that's how we beat the algorithm, and it's very important we do that. And I thank you for your support. Thank you for all of you who are supporting. I ran into some of you yesterday at the Million People March for Children. I haven't got the final figures for that in terms of coast-to-coast participation, but it might not be as high as the first time. But these are crazy, crazy times. I can't overemphasize that. What makes them crazy times? Well, before we get into this phony, fake news conference on a phony, fake housing project, we want to get into the incredibly dangerous Attorney General Sean Fraser. Okay, I mentioned this in church this morning. This is another hate crimes bill, just what we need. This is a country awash in hate crimes legislation, in human rights tribunals that go way over even their mandates. They shouldn't exist in the first place, because they're extrajudicial inquisitions that cause people who might offend somebody to have to spend sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees. This is lawfare writ large for anybody who might be offensive. Canada is a country where people are scared to death about offending anybody, because it might be construed, might be distorted, might be interpreted as hateful. And hateful is in the eye of the beholder. Now, I was at church this morning, actually, and I was up in front of the congregation singing one of my favorite Christian songs. But I mentioned to the folks, are you aware that we now have a hate crimes legislation in the docket that will make symbols of hate illegal? I held up a Bible in church when I said, is this a symbol of hate to some people? Of course it is. Yeah. Lots of people hate the Bible, and they see that as a very offensive symbol of what they would consider to be hatred. Well, I think they're crazy, but that's their opinion. What if the Liberal government says, hey, you know what? That could be construed as hateful. We're going to have to make that a symbol of hate. So what happens if you contravene Canada's new hate symbol law? That's what I'm going to call it because it's stupid. We don't need more hate crime legislation. We don't need more offenses in the criminal code because somebody offends somebody. Free speech exists to protect speech that might be construed. It might be construed as hateful. That's why we have free speech. We don't have free speech in Canada, by the way. It's not specifically spelled out in our Charter of Rights. It needs to be. It's very vague. We need to capture free speech in this country, or we're never going to see it again. We're going down the road of Scotland, United Kingdom. Things are very bad in Australia as well. They've all got legislation to restrict free speech, and it's all whatever the government or the courts decide it is. So here's the inimitable Sean Fraser, one of my least favorite cabinet ministers. The guy was an utter failure as a housing minister. Remember him up there flapping his arms all the time in question period? I thought he was going to try to fly away at times. Sean Fraser is not up to this task, but it amazes me. The Carney government is facing economic catastrophe, biggest deficit and debt in the history of Canada. And what do? They want to talk hate crimes. Yeah, that's the priority. Let's talk about hate crimes so we can put more people in jail, just like they have in the United Kingdom. They had to release people in the United Kingdom from jail. They had to release the killers and the rapists and the thieves from jail if they were nearing the end of their prison sentences. They gave them all early release. This happened last year, so they could have more room to put the social media contraventures in what do they call them over there? Keyboard warriors. Means anybody who happens to disagree with the narrative of Prime Minister Keir Starmer. And that's how it is in the UK. It could be like that in Canada very quickly. It's already encroaching upon that. But here he is, Sean Fraser, explaining what's going to happen to you if this stupid hate symbol law, if this bill is passed. And I'm very, very concerned that it will pass, even if the Conservatives decide to oppose it. And I'm very concerned the Conservatives won't oppose it. But
is 5 years or more, but less than 10 years. 14 years if the maximum term of imprisonment is the included offense is 10 years or more, but less than 14 years, and life if the maximum term of imprisonment for the included offense is 14 years or more, and up to imprisonment for life.
Okay, folks, you can get life imprisonment for having a hate symbol. And we don't even know what that is. It can't be defined because it's whatever the government says it is. Let's listen to some more because this is just absolutely incredible.
Okay, so sorry, what is there a question?
Can you tell us what they are?
Oh yeah, you want to know each of the different.
Yeah, you're damn right. There's a question, Fraser. I'd like to know what the hell you're doing in this portfolio. You're not up to this. And clearly, this is Mark Carney's cabinet of incompetence because Mark Carney wants to occupy every cabinet position.
Sentencing guidelines?
That'd be nice.
Yeah, sure. So let me flip open to the specific page.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy. He's like, oh, so I'm sorry, you're asking me about the sentencing guidelines? I'm supposed to know where that is? Sorry. Somebody took my stickum note out of here. Well, I'll find it, though.
What's that?
I think they want to know the symbols.
Oh, just on symbols. Yeah, so I think we're dealing with a two-year penalty. So, sorry, I'm looking at different things. Let me deal with the hate penalty first. So if you're found guilty of an indictable offense, a maximum penalty under the hate crime, it will be 5 years. If the maximum term of imprisonment for the included offense is 2 years or more, but less than 5 years. 10 years if the maximum term of imprisonment is included offense is 5 years or more, but less than 10 years. 14 years if the maximum term of imprisonment is the included offense is 10 years or more, but less than 14 years. And life if the maximum term of imprisonment for the included offense is 14 years or more, and up to imprisonment for life. Intimidation, where are we here? Would be, if you're guilty of an indictable offense, you'd be liable to imprisonment for a term of not more than 10 years. I've now skipped past the hate symbols piece. My apologies. For the punishment, everyone who commits an offense under the relevant section is guilty of an indictable offense and liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 2 years, or is guilty of an offense punishable on summary conviction, where there'd obviously be discretion.
No, he rattles that off like he's ordering dinner at a Chinese food restaurant. This is like he's reading from the menu. Oh, here it is. I found it. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, staffer. It's on page 65, boss. So he finds the references and he reads them off like, yeah, here it is. Life imprisonment, up to life imprisonment for what? Flashing a hate symbol around? What? Walking around with a Bible or maybe a Quran? Hey, the Quran offends people. Boy, they might get the Muslims upset about this. And I was marching with Muslims yesterday downtown Ottawa, and the Muslims I know that I march with, that support what I do, are Muslims who don't want their kids indoctrinated in public schools. They don't want to hear about the LGBTQ phenomena. They don't want Gay Pride Month. They don't want gay pride flags being raised that they have to stand there and salute. No, they don't want that. So they might be after the Quran too. Maybe the Talmud. Because that offends people. Where does it begin and where does it end? Sean Fraser doesn't have a clue in hell what he's talking about. You just look at this man. He doesn't understand. He's reading this legislation. He's introduced this legislation because he's been told to do it by Mark Carney, the globalist, Mark Carney, the censor, Mark Carney, the man who hates free speech, and he's just following through. Now, before we get to Mark Carney, the phony, Mark Carney, the faker, I want to revisit the Ostrich farm. And if you missed this yesterday, this is Katie's update about how they had a huge win yesterday. And I think the repercussions here could be very, very profound. Why? Because this could mean people are going to say, just like in the Freedom Convoy, remember when they wanted trucking companies or tow truck companies to come and tow the trucks, and they said, forget it. We're in solidarity with these people. We're not going to tow the trucks away. And in this case, the company that was contracted to give the vans to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency said, go pound sand. We don't want your blood money. And Katie explains this. I think this is going to hold true because, Katie has not texted me today. I think everything is fine. Nothing happened last night. They were expecting these trucks to arrive last night. It didn't happen. As far as I can tell. Anyway, I think Katie would have informed not just myself, but other people, and this would be a huge story. I don't think it happened. I think it might not happen. Keep hoping and praying for this family, because this shouldn't happen to anybody. But I'm going to play this again, because we need to shout out courage from Canadian companies, from Canadian people who stand up to this tyrannical Carney government and say, go to hell.
So, obviously, I've been a little bit excited because we have one of the first heroes. Our first hero was the regional district of the Kootenay boundaries by setting a precedence that we're not going to dump healthy animals. And they said, no, to taking these animals in the Udachina landfill without testing to prove illness. I have to correct something, and I am so sorry. It is Clearway. Clearway Car and Truck Rentals is the company that was hired or hired out their rentals to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency to carry out this awful act, this tyrannical act of killing healthy animals. They had no idea that their vans were going to be used by Canadian Food Inspection Agency to kill these ostriches, and when they found out, Clearway Car and Truck Rentals said no. We're going to demand all of our rentals back from this company, and we don't want to be have any part of that. So I just want to say thank you to Clearway Car and Truck Rentals. Correction, you flood them with emails and you flood them with calls of thank you. You are our second heroes. One of many heroes that we're going to have in this, because next it's going to be the contractor. The contractor is going to say no. You will be the next hero, internationally known for standing up on the right side of Canadian history and doing what's right. Clearway Car and Truck Rentals, thank you. You are a hero. Regional District Kootenay Boundaries, thank you. You're a hero. To our MP Scott Anderson, to our MLAs Jordan Keeley and David Williams, Tara Armstrong, Dallas Brody, thank you. Thank you for standing up for what's right. The next, we're calling on Saturday Miracles, and it's going to be the contractor. You will be international as one of the greatest heroes in history, Canadian history right now, to save these animals and stand on the right side of history, doing the right thing to create change for all Canadians, small farmers across Canada. Thank you, Clearway Car Truck Rentals in the Lower Mainland. Please tell them thank you. God bless everybody. It's a Miracle Saturday.
Miracle's going to keep happening, Katie. Thanks for your courage and determination to face down government tyranny and this incredibly arrogant and ignorant Carney government. I keep running into people who are finally awake to the story, finally awake to what's happening to these farmers just a little north of Kelowna, British Columbia, in Edgewood, British Columbia. Finally saying, hey, this could happen to me. And even though I'm not a farmer, what if the government decides it's going to invade my private property, confiscate my livelihood, take my animals away, and kill them? Because why? Well, because that's our policy. Yeah, are they healthy? Well, you're not going to be able to find out, because if you try to test them, we're going to fine you and put you in jail. So don't even think about that. Take our word for it. They're not healthy because we say so. They know these animals are healthy. The government knows that. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency knows that. They know they're healthy. This is why they don't want them tested, because it'll prove them wrong. It'll make them look stupid, because they are stupid people. They're doing this deliberately for ideology, because they want big pharma to be triumphant. They want the vaccine to triumph over natural herd immunity. They don't want natural science. They don't want real science to occur here. They want manufactured fake science to occur here. So keep up the fight. We'll be following this every day that I need to follow it. And here's more good news. And I'm sure this was Katie's idea. I have never run into somebody who doesn't do PR or public affairs as a normal part of their living. This is somebody who works on a farm. Incredibly articulate, intelligent. She knows this. She knows the issue and she knows the science extremely well. But I think she came up with this idea. Put some stands here. Wonderful.
1, 2, 3. The world is watching.
And I got to say, here are the stands for spectators to come and watch the ostriches and to come and say, no, you're not coming on this farm to steal and kill these birds. Not going to happen. And thank you, Rebel News, and Dree Humphrey, the correspondent for Rebel News, who has been on the scene, who's been writing stories. There's only really been 3 of us doing this news since it began. It's myself, Rebel News, and Viva Fry. And yeah, the mainstream media has reported it sometimes completely inaccurately and unfairly, sometimes not so bad. But in terms of the broadcasters out there and independent media, well, I've written about this on my broadcast. I've written about this for Blaze Media, and I'm going to continue to do so. But we need more people attuned to this story. And let's watch the rest of this and thank you again, Dree, for your hard work on this story and for Rebel News' commitment to the truth here.
So you've got the ostriches on this side, and right in front of them, supporters are sitting on bleachers. And the bleachers on the side say the world is watching. So this is just symbolic of how many people are paying attention to this very important case. The case that at its core has so many important issues. The freedom to farm, to have the food you want on your table, the freedom to even have a scientific freedom, your property rights respected, all of that is hanging in the balance on whether or not the Canadian Food Inspection Agency is able to go through with their plan to cull these birds who have been healthy and happy for nearly 250 days.
Right on, Dree. Happy and healthy for almost 250 days. And we've got to keep fighting this. We're going to win this. I want to believe that. I know that's going to happen, but I am so sick of the government getting its way on these stupid issues where it just completely overrides not just foundational human rights, but common sense. This is insanity to kill the healthy birds so they can't be allowed to pass on their good genes to offspring. So we keep killing the healthy birds, so we keep having to what? Vaccinate and cull more birds? What's the point of that? So we don't have any chickens left in British Columbia? They've killed 8 million this year. Is that why the price of eggs is so high? Is that why the price of poultry is so high? Do you think maybe they don't want us to eat chicken or beef, pork, anything that they happen to think is just too good for us? So let's get on to the real story today. And that, of course, is the incredible saga of the fake housing announcement. PM announces former Toronto Council head of new home building agency. We want to thank Brian Passafume, National Post writer, for his diligence in unearthing this incredible hoax. This is like War of the Worlds. If you're familiar with the 1938 Orson Welles broadcast, Mercury Theater on the Air, where Orson Welles convinced a large part of North America that there was a Martian invasion when he was doing a very innovative take on the H.G. Wells play War of the Worlds. He made it sound like it was news unfolding at the time, but it was a complete hoax. Scared the hell out of a lot of people. But, you know, here's Brian demonstrating this whole thing. This housing announcement was a fraud. There was nothing there. This was a set. This was a set, a Potemkin set. It was a Hollywood set behind Mark Carney. So this is a fraudulent, fake prime minister leading a fraudulent, fake government with fraudulent, fake housing programs. Everything he's announced has already been announced before. He had the gall, the nerve to stand in front of a set and say, here's the evidence behind me. Brian Passafume, thank you for doing this work. And Brian will be on the show next week at some time. We haven't nailed down the time or the date yet. But I think this is fascinating. We need reporters to do this. Don't trust the Carney government to tell the truth. Don't believe the Carney government's going to tell you anything but lies. This is what this government was built on. From the minute Mark Carney entered the Liberal leadership race, it has been lies, falsehood, and mendacity. Remember how Mark Carney won, 80% of the vote in every Liberal constituency? How incredibly convenient. Here's Mark Carney, true to form now, doing a phony announcement. Yeah, it's a fake. Is it a fake? You bet it is. No, here it is. You know, and Brian did some investigative reporting, and that's really what was there. A hole in the ground and a little bit of excavation. There it is. There's the set. You ever watch those those old silent movies? I'm thinking of the one with Buster Keaton, where the front of the building literally falls down, he's standing exactly where a window or a door is. I can't exactly remember if it's a window or a door, and he survives the set coming down. This is what this is. This looks like a set from a 1920s silent film, and it just goes on. Yeah, that's really what's there. Okay, it's a backhoe. A lot of earth. I can't believe it's incredible. This is a government that really thinks it can get away with this kind of mendacity. This is a charlatan government. There's no other way to describe it. But if the media buys this, unquestionably, who's the charlatan? Who are the fools here? There's another great angle of Mark Carney's housing project. Well, I don't see anything. No, it disappeared. The set was taken down. It's just, oh my goodness. I find it hard to believe. Let's watch the Mark Carney announcement, though, after you've seen this.
In FBI possession, your possession, one high-profile individual in the music industry, one very...
Sorry. That's...
Much for showing up, guys.
I'm trying to find our Mark Carney clip here. No, it's another shot of that. And I will have to go into the
Dropbox housing construction.
Be right back here. Here it is. There we go. Here we go.
That will supercharge housing construction across Canada.
You get that?
To speed up and scale up home building, to build the affordable housing that all Canadians deserve.
That's it. As per my convo this morning, I took the news cycle to the site of the PM's housing announcement last weekend. The construction was all just a backdrop. Today, there's just an excavator and bulldozer working the site. It's fake. That's Brian Passafume on X describing this outrage. It's the only way to describe it. This is an outrage. And we need more than one reporter on this one. But absolutely beyond.
And so today, Minister of Housing and I are proud to launch Build Canada Homes, a new federal entity that will supercharge housing construction across Canada. Build Canada Homes will do several things. It will help fight homelessness by building transitional and supportive housing in close partnership with provinces, territories, municipalities, and Indigenous communities. And Build Canada Homes will make large housing projects financially viable. We'll also attract enormous private capital into affordable home building. And it will enable private manufacturers and modular home builders to invest in new factories, expand capacity rapidly, and to continue to innovate. This, along with a series of other new measures, will help double the pace of housing construction in this country over the next decade.
Yeah, and start with a Hollywood set. That's a great way to begin this supercharged housing project. It's incredible, but he really does think people are too stupid or too naive to ask any further questions about this, and I'm absolutely amazed. No, I shouldn't be though, because as I said, this is a government that's built on prevarication and falsehoods, and it's. I mean, are we supposed to be proud of this? And it's like I said to some folks that I was talking to this morning. We're on the brink of an economic catastrophe. The dollar is falling. The deficit is climbing. The national debt is even worse proportionally than the United States debt. We're potentially facing stagflation because I don't know if you've looked at the price of meat lately. It sure isn't 2% inflation. It's more like 12. We are in the midst of an economic disaster. And what does Mark Carney want to do? Play games with Hollywood sets and pretend he's got a supercharged housing project. Yeah, and that's we showed you that earlier. That is absolutely beyond belief. The construction was all just a backdrop. And this is how Mark Carney has decided to face the housing crisis in Canada. And I think it's beyond belief. Anyway, I want to show you this exchange here with Representative Thomas Massie of Kentucky. He's a Republican from Kentucky. He's probably the most honest congressman in Washington. He doesn't take money from foreign powers, and he votes with his conscience.
Banker, one high-profile government. These documents in FBI possession, your possession, detail at least 20 men, including Mr. Jess Staley, CEO of Barclays Bank, who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked victims to. That list also includes at least 19 other individuals, one Hollywood producer worth a few $100 million, one royal prince, one high-profile individual in the music industry, one very prominent banker, one high-profile government official, one high-profile former politician, one owner of a car company in Italy, one rock star, one magician, at least 6 billionaires, including a billionaire from Canada.
Whoops. Did he just say a billionaire from Canada? What's Thomas Massie doing here? Well, he's reading through the people in the Epstein files. And of course, we're still getting little bits and pieces of the Epstein files. Kash Patel, FBI Director Kash Patel, is on the stand. And we're not getting a whole lot of answers from Kash Patel on this or other files. You remember when I remember saying, thank God, we're going to have a real FBI director who's either going to fold the FBI and create something new, or he's going to reform the organization. He's going to go through it and get rid of the deadwood. He's going to get rid of the corruption. But what happens to these people when they go to Washington? Well, it's exactly what happens to people when they go to Ottawa. They become Ottawa-washed, or they become Washington-washed. They become part of the system and part of the problem. Now, is it too late to recover for Kash Patel? Maybe not. I don't know. But he's increasingly talking about not the guy who wants to change the FBI, but the guy who wants to lead this organization, because now he's invested in this organization. It's his organization now. So do we really want to tinker with it too much? I mean, it's a proud organization, been around since 1924. Yeah, 100 years of history and tradition. Do we really want to change things? Kash Patel is wondering. Well, the verdict is still out on whether Kash Patel has been a liability or an asset.
Gentleman from Kentucky is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, I watched some of your Senate hearing yesterday when Senator Kennedy asked you.
And of course, the question is, who's the Canadian billionaire? Who is the Canadian billionaire? Thomas Massie mentions the Canadian billionaire as one of them. Who do we know had some contact with Ghislaine Maxwell? They were cited at the same parties at a certain farm outside of London. And Mark Carney's been asked about that close proximity, but he's never even addressed the issue. And the mainstream media has never bothered to ask.
You've seen most of the files. Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these women to besides himself? You replied, according to the transcript, there is no credible information that he trafficked them to anyone else. You also said somewhere in the hearing and here today that the problem is that the case files are constrained by limited search warrants from 2006 to 2007 and that the non-prosecution agreement hamstrung future investigations. Those constraints only apply to Southern District of Florida. They do not apply to Southern District of New York, the location of the 2019 sex trafficking indictment, which produced many things, including a series of FD 302 documents. According to victims who cooperated with the FBI in that investigation, these documents in FBI possession, your possession, detail at least 20 men, including Mr. Jess Staley, CEO of Barclays Bank, who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked victims to, victims including minors, such as Virginia Roberts Giuffre, may she rest in peace. That list also includes at least 19 other individuals, one Hollywood producer worth a few $100 million, one royal prince, one high-profile individual in the music industry, one very prominent banker, one high-profile government official, one high-profile former politician, one owner of a car company in Italy, one rock star, one magician, at least 6 billionaires, including a billionaire from Canada. We know these people exist in the FBI files, the files that you control. I don't know exactly who they are, but the FBI does. Have you launched any investigations into any of these people, and have you seen these 302 documents?
Sir, I have asked my FBI agents to review the entirety of the Epstein files and bring forth any credible information, and we're working with Congress not only to divulge that information and produce it to you, but any investigations that arise from any credible investigation will be brought. There have been no new materials brought to me launching a new indictment.
So is the loophole here, or is it your assertion that these victims aren't credible, that the 302s maybe didn't produce credible statements that rise to a probable cause?
It's not my assertion, sir. It's the assertion of two different United States attorneys' offices from 3 separate administrations who investigated those same materials in live time.
Are the 302 documents in the FBI's possession?
They reviewed all that, yes, sir.
And so have you reviewed those 302 documents where the victims name the people who victimized them?
If I personally know, but the FBI has.
So how can you sit here and in front of the Senate and say there are no names?
I said
I named one today.
I said we are not in the practice at the Department of Justice FBI of releasing victims' names. That is not what we do. We are also not in the habit of releasing incredible information. That's not what we do. But multiple authorities have looked at the entirety of what we have.
Okay, I got to move on here. Were you present when the AG had the White House event when she released the binders to the social media influencers?
I was, yes.
So if you're willing to meet with social media influencers who stood to benefit from the sensational and sad stories of these victims, will you meet with the victims as well?
The FBI will meet with anyone who has new information.
Will you personally meet with them?
The FBI and the professionals who are handling the cases will.
So what is the FBI doing then, except covering up? Has anything really changed from the Joe Biden administration, from the last Democratic administration with the FBI? The FBI, of course, under Biden, decided it needed to persecute Trump supporters. In those days, they went after everybody from January 6th. That was top priority, to go after people who happened to walk into the White House. And of course, they were let in by security and shown around the White House. But those people suffered incredible loss of rights because of the FBI. The FBI decided to go after parents who didn't want critical race theory in their classrooms. They went after social conservatives, evangelicals, conservative Catholics who opposed abortion. That's what the FBI was all about. What does the FBI do best? The FBI covers up best. And I'm sorry to say it looks like they're continuing that practice under Kash Patel. Does there anything ever change? I ask. I don't. I'm hoping so. You know, we've gotten so many good things from the Trump administration, but the FBI is not one of them. A renewed perspective from the FBI is not one of them. So thank you for joining us today. It's a beautiful, I think this is technically the second day, or the first real day of autumn, because it's late on the 20th, it becomes fall. So I want to thank you for joining me. And, you know, here we are, autumn. That's why I'm wearing these, the orange colors today. Don't ever conflate the orange color I'm wearing today with any sort of political statement, if you know what I mean. So that would never be me. But I'll leave you with this. The autumn leaves drift by the window. The autumn leaves of red and gold. I see your lips, the sunburnt kisses, the sunburnt hands I used to know. And we'll leave it at that. Thank you for joining me today. It's been a pleasure. We'll be back again tomorrow at the usual time at 10 o'clock. Please share this broadcast. We're continuing the fight for Katie and the family farm in Edgewood, BC. Those ostriches are going to live. Mark Carney's going to fail. Thank you for your support, and thank you for watching. We'll be back again. And God bless you on this Sunday. Hope you went to church or synagogue or tabernacle or temple, because you're exercising your freedom of religion when you do that. And if you didn't want to go, that's your right too. Thanks for watching. We'll be back again tomorrow. God bless and Godspeed to all of you. Bye for now.